Johann Tserclaes, Count of Tilly, commanded the Catholic League's forces in the 30 Years' War. He had a string of important victories against the Protestants but was then defeated by forces led by the King Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden, along with Duke Albrecht von Wallenstein of Friedland and Mecklenburg. He was one of two chief commanders of the Holy Roman Empire's forces in the first half of the war. Early years. Johann Tserclaes was born in February 1559 in Castle Tilly, Walloon Brabant, now in Belgium, then the Spanish Netherlands. Johann Tserclaes was born into a Roman Catholic Brabantine family and after receiving a Jesuit education in Cologne, he joined the Spanish army at age 15 and fought under Alessandro Farnese, Duke of Parma and Piacenza in his campaign against the Dutch forces rebelling in the 80 Years' War and participated in the successful siege of Antwerp in 1585. After this he joined in the Holy Roman Empire's campaign against the Ottoman Turks in Hungary and Transylvania as a mercenary in 1600 and through rapid promotion became a field marshal in only 5 years. When the Turkish wars ended in 1606, he remained in the service of Rudolf II in Prague until he was appointed commander of the Catholic League forces by Bavaria under Maximilian I, Duke of Bavaria in 1610. Campaign in Bohemia. As commander of the forces of the Catholic League he fought against the Bohemian rebels following the defenestration of Prague, by which time he had trained his soldiers in the Spanish tercio system, which featured musketeers supported by deep ranks of pikemen, a force of 25,000 soldiers, including troops of both the Catholic League and the Emperor, scored an important victory against Christian of Anhalt and Count Thurn at the decisive Battle of White Mountain west of Prague on 8 November 1620. Half of the enemy forces were killed or captured, while the Catholic League lost only 700 men. This victory was vital in crushing resistance to the Emperor in Bohemia, as it allowed Prague to be captured several days later. Campaign in Germany. Next he turned west and marched through Germany, but was defeated at the Battle of Mingolsheim on 27 April 1622. He then joined with the Spanish general Duke Gonzalo Fernández de Córdoba, and was victorious at the Battle of Wimpfen against George Friedrich, Margrave of Baden-Durlach on 6 May. This victory occurred after the enemy's ammunition tumbril was hit by cannon fire and exploded. He was successful again at the Battle of Hochst on 20 June and was made a count for this victory. These 3 battles in 2 months allowed him to capture the city of Heidelberg following an 11-week siege on 19 September. Christian the Younger of Brunswick, whom he had already defeated at Hochst, raised another army, but again lost to him at the Battle of Stadtlohn, where 13,000 out of his army of 15,000 were lost, including 50 of his high-ranking officers. Together with the complete surrender of Bohemia in 1623, this ended virtually all resistance in Germany. This caused King Christian IV of Denmark to enter the 30 Years' War in 1625 to protect Protestantism, and also in a bid to make himself the primary leader of Northern Europe. Count Tilly besieged and captured Munden on 30 May 1626, whereupon local and refugee Protestant ministers were thrown into the river Werra, but could not lay a siege to Kassel. Tilly then fought the Danes at the Battle of Lutter on 26–27 August 1626, in which his highly disciplined infantry charged the enemy lines 4 times, breaking through. This led him to win decisively, destroying more than half the fleeing Danish army, which was uncharacteristic of the warfare of the time. Because of this and other victories by Wallenstein, Denmark was forced to sue for peace at the Treaty of Lübeck. This disrupted the balance of power in Europe, resulting in Swedish involvement in 1630 under their redoubtable leader, the brilliant King and Field General Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden. Gustavus Adolphus had been attempting to dominate the Baltic for the previous 10 years in wars with Poland, then a continental power of note. Sack of Magdeburg. While Gustavus Adolphus landed his army in Mecklenburg and was in Berlin, trying to make alliances with the leaders of northern Germany, Tilly laid siege to the city of Magdeburg on the Elbe, which promised to support Sweden. The siege began on the 20th of March 1631, and Tilly put his subordinate Gottfried Heinrich Graf zu Pappenheim in command while he campaigned elsewhere. After 2 months of laying siege, and after the fall of Frankfurt and der Oder to the Swedes, Pappenheim finally convinced Tilly, who had brought reinforcements, to storm the city on the 20th of May with 40,000 men under the personal command of Pappenheim. The assault was successful and the walls were breached, but the commanders supposedly lost control of their soldiers. A massacre of the populace ensued in which 25,000 of the 30,000 inhabitants of the city perished by sword and the fire which destroyed most of the city. Magdeburg, then one of the largest cities in Germany and about the size of Cologne or Hamburg, never recovered from the disaster. This is a highly controversial event in Tilly's career, and historians still debate how much responsibility he bears for what happened. His enemies quickly blamed him, claiming that the massacre was ordered and used it as justification to enact similar killings. But many historians consider it unlikely that he ordered the city torched. Magdeburg was a strategically vital city of the Elbe and was needed as a resupply center for the looming fight against the Swedes. Although extremely opposed to the Reformation movement, Tilly was a very experienced commander and would have recognized the strategic importance of the city. Additionally, he sent a proposal of surrender to Magdeburg days before the final assault, after the capture of the Toll Redoubt. However, the mayor of Magdeburg rejected the offer, expecting the Swedish relief force to arrive soon. When the slaughter began, and no escape was possible, the children of the city were formed in procession and marched across the marketplace singing Luther's hymn, "Lord, keep us steadfast in thy word, curb Pope and Turk who by the sword would wrest the kingdom from thy son, and set at naught all he hath done." The children were soon slain. Whether or not this inhumane deed was ordered by Tilly is debated to this day. Allegedly, Tilly afterwards wrote to the emperor, "Never was such a victory since the storming of Troy or of Jerusalem. I am sorry that you and the ladies of the court were not there to enjoy the spectacle." Campaign against the Swedes. Following Magdeburg, Tilly engaged the army of Gustavus Adolphus at the Battle of Breitenfeld on the 17th of September 1631, near the city of Leipzig, which he had reached after laying waste to Saxony. In the battle he was outmaneuvered by King Gustavus Adolphus and lost 13,000 men. The Swedes' maneuvering and accurate, rapid artillery fire caused his troops to break and flee. He withdrew, and political rivalries prevented Wallenstein from coming to his aid, so he turned to defense. While attempting to prevent the Swedes from crossing into the Bavaria over the Lech near the Rhine am Lech, he was wounded by a cannonball early in the Battle of Rhine and died of tetanus 15 days later in Ingolstadt at the age of 73 on the 30th of April 1632. His tomb is in Altötting, Upper Bavaria. Gustavus sent his own personal physician to tend to his wounds, which caused Tilly to tell him, "Your king is truly a noble knight." Descendants. A grandson of one of his brothers, Antonio Octavio Tserclaes de Tilly, was a Spanish general and nobleman. A sister or daughter, Albertina, of this prince Antonio Octavio, would be the first root for the Spanish ducal title, Dukes of Tserclaes, bestowed in July 1856 by Queen Isabella II of Spain to members of the Guzman, Pérez de Guzman, family, living in Jerez and Seville, Spain. Fictional appearances. Tilly is mentioned in Bertolt Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children in the chapter in which his funeral is held and in which Mother Courage, referring to it, says her famous lines, "I don't care if this funeral is a historical event. To me the mutilation of my daughter's face is a historical event." Tilly and the sack of Magdeburg are mentioned in the novels The Hangman's Daughter and 1632. Tilly is depicted in First Breitenfeld and in the Battle of Rhine in the novel 1632.